The phone rang at 8:47 p.m., and I knew, just knew, it would be her. I'd been sitting in the dark living room for 3 hours, staring at the family photos on the wall. Jake's graduation, Jake's wedding, the grandkids' birthdays. In every single photo, I was either holding a cake, serving food, or standing in the background with a tired smile plastered on my face. Always there, always invisible, always the one making sure everything ran smoothly while everyone else enjoyed themselves. My fingers trembled as I reached for the phone. Part of me wanted to let it ring. Part of me wanted to throw the thing across the room and watch it shatter. But 30 years of conditioning made me answer anyway. Hello? My voice came out smaller than I intended. Margaret, it's Emma. Her voice had that edge to it, the one she used when talking to service workers or telemarketers, the one that said she was doing me a favor by even speaking to me. We're still at the restaurant. Jake's promotion dinner is running late. I didn't say anything. What was there to say? They'd left at 5 p.m. without even asking if I wanted to come along. My own son's celebration, his big moment, and I wasn't invited. I'd found out about it 3 days ago when I overheard Emma on the phone with her mother, laughing about how they were planning this big family dinner at that expensive steakhouse downtown. Family dinner, she'd said. Everyone but me, apparently. I'd waited by the window that evening, watching them get dressed up. Emma in her black dress, the expensive one she'd bought last month. Jake in his new suit. The kids in their nice clothes, excited about going somewhere special. I'd even ironed Jake's shirt that morning, carefully pressing out every wrinkle, not knowing it was for a celebration I wouldn't be part of. Anyway, Emma continued, her words slightly slurred from wine. We're going to be here another hour at least. Maybe longer. Jake's boss is telling stories, and you know how that goes. Everyone's having such a good time. No, I didn't know how it was. I'd never been included in these things, never been invited to celebrations or dinners or any of the events that marked Jake's life. I'm calling because I wanted to let you know we won't be back for dinner. Obviously. She laughed like it was funny, like I was stupid for even thinking they might include me. Oh, and Margaret, remember the leftovers in the fridge. Eat them if you want. Before we go any further, take a second to subscribe and like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And tell us in the comments, what would you do in this situation? The call ended before I could say anything. I sat there holding the phone, those words echoing in my head like a curse. Remember the leftovers in the fridge. Eat them if you want. Like I was a stray dog they were tossing scraps to. Like I should be grateful for the privilege of eating food I'd cooked myself 2 days ago. Food they'd taken for their lunches without asking. 60 years old, and this is what my life had become. The phone felt heavy in my hand. I set it down carefully on the side table, next to the lamp I wasn't allowed to leave on because Emma said it wasted electricity. Next to the book I'd been trying to read for 3 months, but never had time to finish because there was always something else to do. Always dishes to wash, or laundry to fold, or meals to prepare. Always someone else's needs to put first. I'd raised Jake alone after my husband Tom died when the boy was only 12 years old. Worked 2 jobs, cleaning offices at night, waitressing during the day, so he could have his college education, his nice clothes, his normal childhood. I never remarried, never dated, never took a vacation, never bought myself anything nice. Every single thing I did, every decision I made was for him. And now I was the live-in help who got leftovers. I stood up slowly, my knees aching from the arthritis that I never complained about, because who would listen? Who would care? The living room looked exactly like it had for the past 15 years since I moved in with Jake and Emma. Same beige walls that Emma had chosen without asking my opinion. Same furniture I'd helped them pick out, though Emma had dismissed every suggestion I made. Same feeling of being a ghost in someone else's house, present but unseen. The coffee table was covered with the kids' homework I'd helped them with earlier. math problems for my grandson Michael, a book report for my granddaughter Sophie. They never thanked me anymore for the help. They used to when they were little. Used to hug me and tell me I was the best grandma ever. Now they barely looked up from their phones when I spoke to them. Emma had trained them well. The kitchen sink was full of dishes from the breakfast I'd cooked for everyone before they rushed out the door. Pancakes for the kids, the special ones with blueberries that took forever to make, eggs and bacon for Jake, a fruit smoothie for Emma because she was on another diet, her third one this year. I'd eaten a piece of toast standing at the counter, too tired to sit down, too busy to take a moment for myself. Emma's laundry was in the dryer, waiting for me to fold. Her expensive work clothes that needed to be handled carefully. Jake's work shirts needed ironing for tomorrow. The bathrooms needed cleaning. The grocery shopping needed to be done. The meal plan for next week needed to be written. On and on and on, an endless list of tasks that no one appreciated, no one noticed, no one valued. Remember the leftovers in the fridge? Something inside me snapped, not like in the movies, where someone screams or throws things or has a dramatic meltdown. It was quiet, final, like a door closing somewhere deep in my chest, like a switch being flipped, like waking up after years of sleepwalking through my own life. I walked to my bedroom, the smallest one in the house, the one that used to be Jake's home office, until they needed the space for storage and stuck me in here instead. 10 by 10 feet. Barely enough room for a twin bed, a small dresser, and a narrow closet. The walls were thin. I could hear everything that happened in this house. Emma and Jake arguing about money in their bedroom next door. The kids fighting over toys in the living room. The TV shows I wasn't invited to watch with them. I pulled out the old suitcase from under the bed, dust coating its surface. It still had the baggage tag from that trip to Florida I took with my husband 30 years ago, back when someone actually wanted me around, back when I was a person instead of a resource to be used. My hands were steady as I started packing. Not everything, just the essentials. Clothes for a week or two, toiletries from my small bathroom, my medication, pills for my condition they didn't know I took, arthritis medication I bought myself because I didn't want to ask anyone for help. The few photos where I actually looked happy, my wedding day, Tom holding baby Jake, a picture of me at the beach before life became tough. The emergency cash I'd been hiding in an old shoebox in the back of my closet. $3,000 saved from birthday and Christmas gifts I never spent on myself. $3,000 over 15 years. $200 a year. Less than $4 a week. That's how little I'd spent on myself while I gave them everything. I left behind the apron Emma gave me last Christmas. "Since you're always in the kitchen anyway," she'd said, not even bothering to wrap it. I left behind the world's best grandma mug the kids gave me, even though they never called me grandma to my face anymore. It was always just Margaret, like I was the hired help. I left behind the sweater Jake bought me 3 birthdays ago. The wrong size, the wrong color. Clearly something Emma had picked out at the last minute because he forgot. I left behind every single thing that reminded me I'd become a servant in my own son's house. Then I went to work on the rest of the house. Chapter 2. I didn't trash the place. That would have been too easy, too obvious, too much like the person they'd want me to be. Emotional, irrational, out of control. Instead, I simply stopped doing what I'd been doing every single day for the past 15 years. I stopped being their invisible servant. The kitchen was first. Breakfast dishes, left in the sink, crusty with dried egg and sticky with syrup. The clean dishes in the dishwasher that I'd run last night. Stayed there, waiting for someone else to put them away for once in their lives. The trash that needed to go out. Stayed right where it was, starting to smell. A bag of leftover chicken from dinner 2 nights ago already getting ripe. The counters I wiped down 5 times a day. Left them sticky with coffee spills and crumbs, and the jam Michael had dripped this morning. I opened the fridge and looked at those precious leftovers Emma had so graciously offered me. Pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans. I'd spent 3 hours making that meal 2 days ago, slow cooking the roast until it was perfect, making the potatoes from scratch because Emma said the boxed kind tasted cheap. They'd taken it to work for their lunches without asking, without even mentioning it. Just assumed it was there for them, like everything else I did. I left the fridge door open, just a crack, just enough that the seal wouldn't catch properly, just enough that everything would start to warm up and spoil by morning. A small act of rebellion that would cost them real money. The laundry room was next. Emma's expensive work clothes sat in the dryer, waiting for me to fold them with care, hang them up perfectly, steam out any remaining wrinkles. $300 blouses, designer pants. She had a closet full of clothes that cost more than my entire wardrobe combined. I pulled everything out and dumped it on the floor in a heap. Wet towels from this morning's showers, piled on top, soaking into the expensive fabrics. Jake's work shirts that needed ironing, stayed wrinkled. The delicate cycle items that needed special care, mixed in with everything else. Let them figure out what needs dry cleaning. Let them figure out what shrinks in the dryer. Let them figure out literally anything for themselves. In the living room, I left the kids' school projects scattered everywhere. Markers without caps, they'd be dried out by morning, useless. Glue spilled on the coffee table, that would leave a permanent mark on the wood Emma loved. Toys and books covering every surface. Construction paper and scissors and glitter everywhere. A mess that would take hours to clean properly. Usually, I cleaned all this up before bed, so they'd wake up to a neat house, so Emma wouldn't complain about the chaos, so Jake wouldn't sigh, that disappointed sigh, that made me feel like I'd failed. Not tonight, not anymore. The bathrooms were my final touch. I didn't clean them, I just stopped, left the toothpaste smeared on the mirrors. Emma hated that, complained about it constantly, even though she was the one who never cleaned it off. The toilet paper rolls empty. Jake always complained when that happened, like it was my personal responsibility to monitor their toilet paper usage. The towels wet on the floor. A tripping hazard Emma would definitely notice. The soap scum in the shower. The hair in the drains. The water spots on the faucets that Emma insisted had to be wiped down daily. All the little things I did every single day that they never noticed until they were undone. They were about to notice. Then I sat down at the kitchen table with a piece of paper and a pen. My hand hovered over the blank page for a long moment. What do you write to people who stopped seeing you years ago? What do you say to a son who forgot his mother was a person with feelings, with needs, with dreams that mattered? What do you tell a daughter-in-law who looked at you and saw nothing but free labor, nothing but a convenience? I kept it simple, direct, honest. No explanations, no justifications, no begging them to understand. I'm no longer your servant. You'll have to deal with this yourself. 10 words. 10 words to sum up 15 years of being taken for granted, of being used, of being invisible in my own son's house. I left the note right in the center of the kitchen table, weighted down with the salt shaker so it wouldn't blow away. They'd see it eventually, whenever they bothered to come home from their celebration. Their family celebration that I wasn't family enough to attend. It was 9:30 p.m. when I called Irma. She answered on the first ring, her voice warm and concerned the way it always was. "Margaret, is everything all right, dear?" Just hearing someone use that tone with me, that caring, genuine tone, made my eyes burn with tears I'd been holding back for hours. "Can I come stay with you?" My voice cracked despite my best efforts, and I hated myself for it. Hated that I still felt weak, still felt like I was doing something wrong by finally choosing myself. "Just for a while. I need to leave." Of course, honey. Come right now. Don't even think twice about it. I'll make up the guest room. Are you safe? Do you need me to come get you?" "No, I can drive. I can't be here anymore, Irma. I can't do this anymore." I understand completely. Come now. Drive carefully. I'll be waiting up for you. We'll talk when you get here. Irma was my late husband's sister, and she was the only family member who'd stayed in touch after Tom died. She called every week, usually on Sunday afternoons, and we'd talk for an hour or more. She remembered my birthday, actually remembered it, actually called, actually sent cards with thoughtful messages inside. She asked how I was doing and waited for a real answer instead of just saying it as a formality. She invited me to things and meant it, didn't just extend half-hearted invitations she hoped I'd decline. She was what family was supposed to be. I grabbed my suitcase, took one last look at the house I'd kept running like a well-oiled machine for 15 years, and walked out the door. My heart was pounding. My hands were shaking. But I kept walking. I didn't lock the door behind me. Let them figure that out too. Let them come home drunk and distracted and walk into an unlocked house. Let them learn what happened when the person who thought of everything stopped thinking of them. The drive to Irma's took 40 minutes. 40 minutes of gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. 40 minutes of trying not to think about what I was doing, what I'd done, what would happen next. 40 minutes of trying not to imagine Jake's face when he came home and found me gone, trying not to feel guilty for leaving, trying not to turn the car around and go back. But why should I feel guilty? What had I done wrong except give and give and give until there was nothing left of me? What had I done except sacrifice every dream, every want, every piece of myself for people who didn't even notice I existed? Irma's porch light was on when I pulled into her driveway. She was standing at the door in her bathrobe, waiting for me, her face full of concern and love and acceptance. "Oh, Margaret," she said, pulling me into a tight hug before I could even get my suitcase out of the car. Come in, come in. You're shaking, honey." I was shaking. I hadn't even noticed until she said it. Her house smelled like cinnamon and coffee, warm and welcoming. Soft music played from somewhere in the background. The lights were dim and cozy. Everything Jake's house wasn't. Everything I hadn't felt in 15 years. "Tell me what happened," Irma said, guiding me to her comfortable couch and pressing a cup of hot tea into my hands. Real tea, in a real mug, served to me like I mattered, like my comfort was important. And I did. I told her everything. The phone call that was the final straw, the leftovers, the years of being invisible, the way Emma ordered me around like hired help, never saying please or thank you, the way Jake looked right through me, like I was furniture, the way my grandchildren were being raised to think I was just part of the household fixtures, something to use and ignore. Irma listened without interrupting, her kind eyes filling with tears as I spoke. "You should have left years ago," she finally said, squeezing my hand so tight it almost hurt. "You deserve so much better than this, Margaret. So much better. You're a wonderful person who's been treated terribly." Chapter 3. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in Irma's comfortable guest room, in her bed with the soft sheets and the warm quilt that smelled like lavender, staring at the ceiling, replaying 30 years of my life like a movie I couldn't pause or stop. After my husband Tom died, I'd been completely lost. Utterly, devastatingly lost. He'd had a heart attack at work, just collapsed at his desk one Tuesday afternoon, gone before the ambulance even arrived. 45 years old. We were supposed to have decades left together. We had plans, dreams, a future we'd mapped out. Jake was 12, angry at the world, angry at me for not being able to bring his father back. For the first year after Tom died, Jake barely spoke to me, just glared and slammed doors and blamed me for everything that went wrong. The grief counselor said it was normal, that children often lashed out at the surviving parent, that he'd come around eventually, and he did, eventually. But something between us had broken that never quite healed properly. I'd taken on extra shifts, working every hour I could get. Sold our nice house in the suburbs with the big yard and the good school district. Moved to a smaller apartment across town so Jake could keep his same school, his same friends, his life as normal as possible. He didn't know we were broke, didn't know the life insurance barely covered the funeral costs, didn't know I was working myself to complete exhaustion just to keep him fed and clothed and in clean socks. I remembered packing his lunch every single day, even when I was so exhausted I could barely stand upright, making sure his clothes were clean and pressed so the other kids wouldn't tease him, making sure his homework was done, staying up late to help him with math problems I barely understood myself, making sure his field trip money was paid on time. I went to every single parent-teacher conference, every baseball game, every school play. Even when I had to miss work and lose pay, I desperately needed just to keep our lights on. When he got accepted to college, a good college, a state school with a decent program in marketing, I cried with joy. My son was going to have opportunities I never had. He was going to make something of himself. He was going to have the life his father would have wanted for him. I worked 3 jobs during his college years, 3 separate jobs. Morning shift at a diner from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., serving coffee and eggs to people who never tipped well. Afternoons cleaning houses for wealthy families who looked through me like I was invisible, who left me notes about spots I'd missed. Evening shift at a grocery store from 6 p.m. to midnight, stocking shelves and running a register for minimum wage. I slept 4 hours a night if I was lucky. I ate ramen noodles and peanut butter sandwiches because they were cheap and filling. I wore the same 5 outfits for 4 years straight, washing them in the sink to save quarters at the laundromat. Jake never knew any of this. I made sure he never knew. I wanted him to focus on his studies, to enjoy his youth, to not carry the burden of my sacrifices. When he called home, I lied. Told him everything was fine. Told him I was doing great. Told him not to worry about money, that I had it all under control. He graduated with honors, got a good job right out of college, something in marketing that paid well, better than I'd ever made in my entire life. He moved to the city, got a nice apartment, started his adult life. I was so incredibly proud. All those years of sacrifice had been worth it. He met Emma at his office. They dated for 2 years before getting married, and I liked her at first. I really did. She seemed ambitious, smart, put together, professional, the kind of woman who knew what she wanted and how to get it. I thought she'd be good for Jake, help him build a stable life, give him the kind of partnership his father and I had. The wedding was beautiful. I'd saved for a year to help pay for it, even though Emma's parents were wealthy and could have covered everything easily without even noticing the expense. But I wanted to contribute. I wanted to be part of my son's joy. Wanted to feel like I mattered in this new chapter of his life. I gave them $5,000, every penny I had saved. Emma's parents spent $50,000 and made sure everyone at the wedding knew exactly how much they'd contributed. 3 years later, Jake and Emma had their first child, a little girl they named Sophie. I was there at the hospital, waiting in the lobby for 8 hours because Emma only wanted Jake in the delivery room. Not her mother, not anyone else, just Jake. When they finally let me see my granddaughter, Emma handed her to me for exactly 2 minutes before taking her back. "We have a system," Emma had said, her voice sharp even through the exhaustion of childbirth. "We've read all the books. We don't want too many people confusing her with different ways of doing things. Too many cooks in the kitchen, you know." That should have been my first warning, but I was so desperate to be part of their lives, so eager to be a grandmother, so hungry for family connection that I ignored it. When their second child came along 2 years later, a boy they named Michael, Emma called me 6 days after giving birth, not to share the joy of a new baby, not to let me meet my new grandson, not to celebrate this new life, to ask for help. "Margaret, we need help," she'd said, her voice sharp with exhaustion and frustration. "Can you come stay with us for a few weeks, just until we get settled with 2 kids, just temporarily? We're drowning here, and we need someone who knows what they're doing." A few weeks turned into 15 years. At first, they acted grateful. Emma would thank me for cooking dinner, for doing the laundry, for watching the kids so they could have date nights. Jake would hug me and tell me what a lifesaver I was, how they couldn't do this without me, how lucky they were to have me willing to help. But gradually, so gradually, I didn't notice it happening until it was too late. The thanks disappeared. The hug stopped. The appreciation vanished like morning fog. I became part of the household routine, as expected and unnoticed as the refrigerator humming in the kitchen or the furnace keeping the house warm. Margaret, the kids need lunch. Margaret, this bathroom is dirty. Margaret, did you pick up my dry cleaning? Margaret, why isn't dinner ready? Margaret, the kids have a project due tomorrow. Margaret, I need this shirt ironed. Margaret, Margaret, Margaret. Never Mom anymore. Always Margaret, like I was an employee, like I was the help they'd hired but forgot to pay. I'd tried to talk to Jake about it once, about 3 years ago, tried to tell him I felt taken advantage of, that I needed some appreciation, some acknowledgement that I was a person and not just a housekeeper who worked for free. He'd looked uncomfortable, shifted in his seat, avoided my eyes, mumbled something about Emma being stressed with her job, about how busy they both were, about how they really did appreciate me even if they forgot to say it. Then he changed the subject and the conversation was over. That night, Emma pulled me aside in the kitchen while I was washing dishes. Jake tells me you're feeling unappreciated, she'd said, her smile not reaching her eyes. I'm sorry you feel that way, Margaret. We do appreciate you. You know that. It's just that we're all so busy. We forget to say it sometimes. Our lives are just so hectic. You understand, right? You know how crazy things get around here. I'd nodded like an idiot. Said it was fine, told her I understood, went back to my little room and cried into my pillow so no one would hear me. And nothing changed. Nothing ever changed after that conversation. Now, lying in Irma's guest room, I realized something that should have been obvious years ago. They didn't forget to appreciate me. They just didn't think I deserved appreciation. They didn't see me as someone who deserved thanks or recognition or basic human respect. To them, I wasn't Jake's mother. I wasn't the woman who'd sacrificed 30 years for her son. I wasn't a person with feelings and needs and dreams of my own. I was free labor, convenient, invisible, expected to be there forever. Well, they were about to learn what life was like without their invisible servant. Margaret, Irma's soft knock came at the door around 7 a.m. Are you awake, dear? Yes, I called out, my voice hoarse from crying. She came in with a tray, coffee in a real ceramic mug, not a chipped one, toast with real butter and homemade jam, scrambled eggs cooked just the way I liked them, with a little cheese, fresh orange juice, even a little vase with a flower from her garden. Real breakfast, made with care, served to me like I mattered, like my comfort was important. I've been thinking about what you told me last night, Irma said, setting the tray on the nightstand and sitting on the edge of the bed. And I want you to know something important, Margaret. You can stay here as long as you want. Forever, if you need to. This is your home now if you want it to be. Your family, Margaret. Real family. Not the kind that uses you and throws you away when you stop being useful. My eyes filled with tears. Thank you, Irma. Thank you so much. I don't know what I'd do without you. Have they called yet? She asked gently. I checked my phone with trembling hands. The screen was full of notifications. 3 missed calls from Jake's number. 7 text messages, all from Emma. Where are you? Margaret, call us back immediately. This isn't funny. The house is a complete mess. Where did you go? Jake is worried about you. Call him. Margaret, answer your phone right now. You're being ridiculous. We need to talk about this like adults. I turned the phone off and set it on the nightstand, my hand shaking slightly. They called, I said, but I'm not ready to talk to them yet. Maybe not ever. Irma nodded, understanding in her wise eyes. Good. Let them worry for once in their lives. Let them figure things out on their own. You've earned this rest, Margaret. You've earned this peace. Don't let them take it from you before you're ready. Chapter 4. Jake and Emma got home around midnight, maybe later. I wasn't there to see it, of course, but I could picture it perfectly in my mind. I'd watched them come home drunk plenty of times before, all loud laughter and stumbling steps, smelling like wine and expensive food, talking too loudly about people I'd never met and parties I'd never attend. Emma would fumble with her keys, drop them once or twice on the porch, curse under her breath, in that way she did when she'd had too much wine. Jake would make some joke about the promotion, about his boss, about how much champagne they'd drunk at dinner. They'd practically fall through the door together, giggling like teenagers, expecting to find the house clean and quiet, and me tucked away in my little room like always, invisible and forgotten until morning when they needed breakfast. Instead, they found chaos. The living room lights were still on, every single one, blazing bright, wasting electricity. The TV was on too, volume turned up. I'd left it on the Home Shopping Network on purpose. Some woman selling jewelry to insomniacs, running all night. Toys and school supplies scattered everywhere like a bomb had gone off. The couch cushions askew, shoes scattered across the floor. Backpacks dumped in the middle of the walkway. "What the hell?" I imagined Emma saying, her alcohol-soaked brain trying to process why the house looked like this. She'd stand there swaying slightly, her expensive dress wrinkled from sitting too long at dinner, her makeup smeared, trying to understand why I hadn't cleaned up before they got home like I always did. Jake would head to the kitchen, probably wanting water for his hangover that was already starting. His head would be spinning from too much wine. His stomach would be queasy from too much rich food. He'd flip on the kitchen light, and that's when he'd see it all. The dishes, piled high in the sink, crusty and disgusting. The counters sticky and covered in crumbs and spills. The floor, with bits of food tracked across it. The trash overflowing, garbage spilling onto the floor, starting to smell rotten. And the fridge door hanging open just slightly, the light on inside, cold air spilling out, everything starting to spoil and ruin. And the note, right there on the kitchen table, impossible to miss under the bright overhead light. "I'm no longer your servant. You'll have to deal with this yourself." My son, my baby boy who I'd raised alone, who I'd worked myself to the bone for, who I'd given up everything for, would pick up that note with shaking hands and read it once, twice, 3 times before the words really sank into his wine-clouded mind. I wasn't there. I was really, actually gone. Emma would grab the note from him, her face going red even through the alcohol flush in her cheeks. She'd be angry first. That was her default emotion when things didn't go her way. Angry that I dared to leave without permission. Angry that the house was a mess when she specifically told me to keep it clean. Angry that I wasn't there to clean it up immediately and apologize for existing. "Where is she?" Emma would demand, as if Jake would have any idea, as if I'd somehow consulted with him before leaving. He'd check my room, stumbling down the hallway. Find half my clothes gone from the tiny closet. My toothbrush missing from the bathroom. My suitcase gone from under the bed. The space where I'd existed for 15 years suddenly, obviously painfully empty. That's when the panic would really set in. Not panic because they missed me as a person. Panic because they needed me to function. Emma would call my phone frantically. Once, twice, 5 times, 10 times in rapid succession. Straight to voicemail because I'd turned it off. Each call getting more frantic, more angry, more demanding. "This is ridiculous," she'd say, but there'd be an edge of real worry in her voice now, mixing with the anger. "She's probably at a hotel somewhere, trying to make a point, being dramatic like always. She'll be back tomorrow when she's made us worry enough and gotten the attention she wanted." But would I? That was the question they should have been asking themselves. Jake would sit at the kitchen table, that note in his hands, reading it over and over, And maybe, just maybe, he'd start to remember things. Remember that I was his mother. Remember that I'd given up everything for him. Remember all those years I spent making sure he had a good life while I had nothing at all. Or maybe he wouldn't. Maybe he'd just be annoyed that his celebration night was ruined by his mother's tantrum. Maybe he'd side with Emma like he always did, convince himself I was being unreasonable, irrational, emotional, in that dismissive way he'd learned from his wife. I'd find out soon enough which version of my son still existed. At Irma's house, I made myself another cup of tea at 2 a.m., unable to sleep, and tried to ignore the guilt gnawing at my stomach like a living thing with teeth. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I kept telling myself that. Over and over like a mantra. I had every right to leave, every right to stop being treated like hired help, every right to want respect and appreciation and basic human dignity. But 30 years of putting everyone else first doesn't disappear overnight. 30 years of being told your needs don't matter, that you're being selfish if you want anything for yourself. 30 years of being trained to feel guilty for taking up space in the world. "Stop it," Irma said, appearing in her own bathrobe, reading my mind the way she always could. "I can hear you pacing up here. Come downstairs. Let's have some tea together. You're allowed to think of yourself for once, Margaret. You're allowed to want respect and appreciation. You're allowed to leave a bad situation. That doesn't make you a bad person." "What if something happens and they really need me?" I asked, my voice small and scared. "Margaret, they're adults, 40 and 35 years old. They have 2 working legs, 2 working hands, and, theoretically, 2 working brains somewhere in those heads. They'll figure it out. People survived for thousands of years without servants. They'll manage. But the kids are so young. The kids have 2 parents who have been coasting for 15 years on your free labor. Let them parent. Let them figure out what you've been doing all this time. Let them learn what it takes to actually run a household and raise children. It might be the best thing that ever happened to them." She was right. I knew she was right. But knowing something intellectually and feeling it emotionally are 2 completely different things when your heart is breaking. That night, what was left of it, I had nightmares. Not about Jake and Emma struggling without me. Not about the kids crying for me. About being back in that house, invisible again, serving leftovers to myself, while they laughed and celebrated in the dining room without inviting me. About working and cleaning and cooking until my hands bled and nobody noticing. About disappearing entirely, fading into the walls, becoming nothing but a shadow. I woke up at 6 a.m. in a cold sweat, my heart pounding like a drum. My hands clenched so tight in the sheets my fingers ached. I checked my phone with trembling hands. 32 missed calls, 47 text messages. They were definitely noticing my absence now. Chapter 5. The next morning hit Jake and Emma like a freight train loaded with reality and consequences. I know this because Emma's texts got increasingly desperate and panicked as the morning progressed. I turned my phone back on, not to respond, but to watch, to see them scramble the way I'd scrambled for years trying to keep their household running smoothly while they took all the credit. 7:15 a.m. "Margaret, the kids need breakfast. Where did you put the cereal? We can't find anything." The cereal was in the pantry, in the same exact spot it had been for 15 years, in the same cabinet, on the same shelf, in the same corner where I'd kept it since Sophie was a baby. But apparently, when you never bother to look for anything yourself, when you just ask someone else to get it for you every single time, you forget where even the most basic items are kept. 7:43 a.m. "How do you make pancakes? The kids are crying and screaming. They want your pancakes. They say the cereal tastes bad. They won't eat anything else. Help." My pancakes. The ones I made from scratch every Sunday morning without fail, rain or shine, sick or healthy, tired or rested. With fresh blueberries from the farmer's market that I bought with my own money because Emma said they were too expensive. With just the right amount of cinnamon and vanilla extract. With the perfect texture. Fluffy but not too fluffy. Sweet but not too sweet. golden brown on both sides. The ones I'd taught myself to make by trying dozens of different recipes until I found the perfect one. The one the kids loved so much they asked for them constantly. You don't just make those pancakes, Emma. You put love into them. You put time and patience into them. You put effort and practice into them. You put years of trial and error into perfecting them. All things she'd never bothered to learn because why would she? She had me to do it for her. 8:02 a.m. Jake burned the eggs. The smoke alarm went off and won't stop beeping. The neighbors are staring at us through their windows. How do you cook eggs without burning them? This is a disaster. 8:31 a.m. We're going to be late for work. The kids are going to be late for school. Nobody has eaten breakfast. This is your fault. Where are you? My fault. Of course it was my fault. Everything was always my fault when things went wrong. I sipped my coffee, delicious coffee that Irma had made for me in her French press, rich and smooth, and ate the perfect omelette she'd prepared with fresh herbs from her garden. She'd even cut up fresh fruit and arranged it in a pretty bowl like a restaurant would. Added a sprig of mint for garnish. Set the table with cloth napkins and real silverware that matched. When was the last time someone made breakfast for me? When was the last time someone served me food made with care? When was the last time someone cared if I was hungry or tired or needed something? I literally couldn't remember. It had been years, maybe decades. 9:15 a.m. Fine, we're leaving for work and school. Don't expect us to keep calling. We have our own lives to live. We don't need you. But they did keep calling, of course, because they absolutely did need me, and they were starting to realize just how much. Jake's turn. Mum, please, I don't understand what's happening here. This isn't like you at all. Can we talk about this? Can you at least tell me where you are and that you're safe? I'm really worried. Mum, he called me Mum. Funny how that word came back when he needed something, when he was scared and confused. Lunchtime brought a whole new wave of panic and desperation. Emma, what do I pack for the kids' lunches tomorrow? They say the school lunch is disgusting. They say you always pack them good food with treats. What do you pack? And they mentioned notes. What kind of notes do you put in there? The notes. Little messages I'd write on napkins every single morning and slip into their lunchboxes with care. Have a great day. You're awesome. I love you, sweetie. You've got this. I'm proud of you. You're my special boy. You're my special girl. The kids never mentioned them to my face, never thanked me for them, never acknowledged them at all in 15 years. I'd thought maybe they threw them away without reading them, that they were embarrassed by their grandmother's silly notes. But apparently they'd noticed. Apparently they'd been reading them all along. Apparently they'd mattered more than I knew. That afternoon, Irma and I went for a long walk in her neighborhood. It was beautiful, tree-lined streets with massive old-growth maples and oaks providing shade, cute Victorian houses with flower gardens and welcoming porches, people walking dogs and pushing strollers and actually saying hello to strangers they passed, children playing in yards, neighbors chatting over fences, a real community. A world away from Jake and Emma's sterile suburban subdivision where no one talked to each other, where every house looked identical, where the HOA had 17 different rules about what color you could paint your mailbox and how high your grass could grow. You look lighter already, Irma observed as we walked slowly along the sidewalk. Like a physical weight's been lifted off your shoulders. You're even standing up straighter than you did yesterday. I feel guilty, though, I admitted. Is that stupid of me? It's not stupid at all. It's conditioning, pure and simple. They trained you to feel guilty for having needs of your own. They trained you to feel guilty for wanting respect. They trained you to feel guilty for existing as anything other than their servant. But you're breaking that conditioning now, Margaret. It's going to hurt before it feels better. It's going to be hard. But I promise you, it's worth it. My phone buzzed constantly in my pocket like an angry wasp. I'd stopped reading the messages after the first 100 or so. There were probably hundreds more now. The buzzing was starting to feel like an attack, like they were trying to reach through the phone and drag me back to that house by force. That evening, Jake tried a different approach entirely. He called from his work phone, probably hoping I wouldn't recognize the number and would pick up out of curiosity or concern. I let it ring and ring until it went to voicemail, watched his work number flash on my screen like a warning light. He left a voicemail, his voice shaking. "Mom, it's Jake. I'm calling from my work phone because I know you're ignoring my cell. Emma says you left a note about not being a servant anymore. I don't understand what that means. We don't treat you like a servant. You're family. You're my mom. You'll always be my mom. Please call me back. Please, I'm worried about you. I just want to know you're okay and safe. That's all. Just call and tell me you're okay, and I'll leave you alone if that's what you want." I listened to the voicemail once, felt a pang in my chest, then deleted it without finishing. Day 2 brought more of the same desperate messages, but worse and more frantic. 5:47 a.m. "Margaret, we don't have clean clothes. None of us do. Everything is dirty. The laundry is still in a pile on the floor, getting moldy. How does the washing machine work? Which buttons do I press? There are so many settings." I'd done their laundry for 15 years, every single week without fail. Separated the colors from the whites carefully. Used the right detergents for different fabrics. Pre-treated stains. Folded everything perfectly with crisp corners. Put it all away in the right drawers, organized by type. And they didn't even know how to turn on the washing machine. 12:03 p.m. The kids are eating cafeteria food today. They came home yesterday and cried about how bad it was. They want your homemade lunches. They want your sandwiches cut into fun shapes. They want your homemade cookies with chocolate chips. Margaret, please help us. 4:32 p.m. Jake tried to cook dinner tonight. It was completely inedible. We had to throw it all away and order pizza delivery instead. Do you know how expensive pizza delivery is for 4 people? We can't afford to order food every single night. We have bills to pay, a mortgage. We need you back. 6:15 p.m. The house smells really bad, like something died in here. What did you do to clean before we came home? Did you take out the trash every day? Where do you even keep the trash bags? Everything is so confusing without you here to do it. 7 p.m. Margaret, this is Emma speaking. We need to discuss your return home immediately. Clearly, we can talk about your concerns like adults. We can make changes if needed, but you need to come back soon. This situation isn't sustainable for anyone. The kids are suffering. Jake is suffering. Even I'm exhausted trying to do everything. Please, let's be reasonable adults about this. Reasonable adults. Right, because I was the one being childish and unreasonable. Day 3 brought a visible crack in Emma's usually perfect composure. Please, Margaret, I'm literally begging you now. The kids are asking for you constantly every 5 minutes. Jake is exhausted and falling apart at work. I'm exhausted too. We need help desperately. I'm sorry if we didn't appreciate you enough before. I'm genuinely sorry if we took you for granted. Can we please just talk, face to face? Please. I'm asking nicely. Too little, too late, way too late. Day 4, their finances became a real problem they couldn't ignore. Margaret, the promotion pay doesn't start until next month. We don't have extra money right now to hire a professional housekeeper. We barely have money for groceries after ordering so much takeout this week. You know our budget is tight every month. Please. We need you to come back. We'll appreciate you more, I promise. I turned off my phone again and helped Irma make a real dinner from scratch. Roast chicken with herbs, fresh vegetables from her garden, homemade rolls, real conversation and genuine laughter, and someone actually caring about my day, asking about my plans, treating me like a human being with thoughts and feelings that mattered. This was what life was supposed to feel like. This was what I'd been missing for 15 long years. Chapter 6. A full week passed, 7 days of Jake and Emma trying desperately to function without me. 7 days of mounting chaos, exhaustion, and brutal reality checks about what I'd actually been doing all those years. Irma had a friend who worked at Jake's office building, different floor, different department, but same company. Through the office grapevine, stories started filtering back to me. Gossip, observations, the truth of what was happening to my formerly successful son. Jake was coming to work late every single day now. 20 minutes one day, 30 minutes the next, an hour late on Thursday. His boss had already spoken to him twice about punctuality and professional standards. He looked disheveled and exhausted, shirts wrinkled and sometimes actually inside out, hair uncombed and sticking up, tie crooked or missing entirely. He'd fallen asleep during an important meeting with clients, head down on the conference table, actually snoring softly while his colleagues stared in shock. Someone had overheard him on the phone in his office, arguing loudly with Emma about whose turn it was to pick up the kids from school. Their voices raised, his office door not quite closed all the way. The golden boy with his big promotion was falling apart in real time, and everyone could see it. Emma wasn't doing much better at her job. She'd shown up to an important client presentation with huge coffee stains on her white blouse. Not a small stain you could hide, but a massive brown stain spreading across the front. She'd snapped at her assistant for asking a simple question about scheduling, then had to apologize profusely later. She'd left work early 3 days in a row because the school kept calling about problems with the kids. One had forgotten their lunch entirely, another had gotten sick and thrown up, problems that used to get automatically routed to me, my grandchildren. I did worry about them constantly, obsessively. They were 7 and 9 years old, innocent in all this chaos, caught in the middle of their parents' incompetence. But they had 2 parents, 2 supposedly capable adult parents who needed to learn how to actually be parents instead of just managers supervising the hired help. The text messages from Emma had evolved significantly over the week. No more angry demands, no more accusations. Now it was desperate bargaining, frantic negotiating, trying to find any leverage that might work. What if we hired someone to help you? A real housekeeper, someone professional and trained. You wouldn't have to do everything yourself anymore. You could supervise them and just do the things you enjoy. What if we set up a real schedule with boundaries? You could have guaranteed days off, real days off where you could go out and have your own life. Weekends free, whatever you want. What if we paid you a real salary? Would that make it better? We could figure out a fair wage based on market rates. You'd be a paid employee with actual benefits and everything. She still didn't get it. After everything, after a full week of struggling without me, she still didn't understand the core problem. This wasn't about compensation or time off or having help with the workload. It was about basic human respect, about being seen as a human being with value instead of a resource to exploit, about being valued as Jake's mother instead of treated as hired help who should be grateful for a room and leftovers. Jake's messages were different in tone, sadder, more genuine and vulnerable, or at least they seemed that way to my broken heart. I miss you, Mom. Not just because of the help, I actually miss you. The house doesn't feel right without you here. I'm sorry I took you for granted for so many years. I'm sorry I didn't appreciate everything you did for us every single day. Please tell me where you are exactly. I need to know you're safe and okay. I can't sleep worrying about you out there alone somewhere. I didn't realize how much you actually did for us until you were gone. For me, I was blind, I was stupid and selfish. I'm so sorry, Mum. The kids cry for you at night now. Sophie asked me yesterday when Grandma is coming home. I didn't know what to tell her. I don't have a good answer. They sounded sincere and heartfelt. Maybe they genuinely were. But words are easy when you're desperate. Apologies are cheap when you're panicking. Actions are what matter. Real change is what matters. And I'd seen absolutely no evidence of real change in their thinking, just panic at losing their free labor and convenient servant. On day 8, something shifted significantly in the communication pattern. Emma stopped texting entirely. Jake's messages slowed dramatically to just 1 or 2 a day, short and resigned. The panic and desperation had faded, replaced by something else harder to read. Acceptance, anger, a new strategy they were planning. I couldn't tell from the brief messages. Then, on day 9, my granddaughter's school called my cell phone. They had my number listed as the primary emergency contact. I'd been the one who filled out all the enrollment paperwork when she started kindergarten, the one who always answered immediately when they called, the reliable one. Ms. Walsh, this is Lincoln Elementary School calling. We have Sophie here in the office. She's running a fever of 102 degrees. We've been trying to reach her parents for over an hour now, but no one's answering their phones at all. Can you come get her right away? My heart shattered into 1,000 pieces right there. My granddaughter, sick and scared and feverish, wanting her family, needing comfort. I can't, I forced myself to say, the words tasting like poison and ash in my mouth. I'm not available right now to pick her up. Please keep trying her parents. They're her parents. They need to handle the situation. The school secretary sounded genuinely confused and concerned. But you're listed as the primary emergency contact, Ms. Walsh. You've always been the one who— Not anymore, I interrupted, my voice breaking despite my best efforts. Please, keep calling them. Keep trying. They'll answer eventually. They have to. I hung up and cried for 20 straight minutes, sobbing into Irma's couch cushions. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done in my entire life. Harder than leaving initially. Harder than ignoring their desperate calls. Harder than everything combined. But if I went running back every single time there was a crisis or emergency, nothing would ever change. They'd learn they could ignore me, take me for granted, treat me like garbage. But the second they needed me, I'd come running. That couldn't be how this worked anymore. An hour later, Emma managed to leave her important meeting and pick up Sophie. She sent me a text that night, dripping with guilt and accusation. She had a fever of 102. We took her to urgent care. She has strep throat. They gave her a shot because she was dehydrated from crying so much. She was crying for you, Margaret. For you specifically. She kept asking why Grandma wouldn't come get her. Are you happy now? Does this make you feel good about yourself? I wasn't happy. I was devastated, but I was also still determined. Day 10 brought a new player into the situation. Emma's mother, Patricia, called me. Margaret, Emma told me you abandoned them. They're busy professionals. They need you. Patricia, I didn't abandon them. I left a situation where I was being treated like unpaid labor. Emma says they've offered to pay you now. This isn't about money. This is about respect. Patricia's voice got ice cold. Emma doesn't have time for housework. That's why you're there. That was why I was there. Past tense. I'm done. I hung up. Irma started clapping. Perfect. That night, Jake called again. I didn't answer. Tomorrow, I decided. Tomorrow I'd answer and they'd hear exactly what I thought. Chapter 7. Day 11. My phone rang at 7:30 a.m. Jake's number. I answered. Hello, Jake. Mom. Oh, thank God. Are you okay? Where are you? I'm fine. I'm staying with Aunt Irma. Why didn't you tell us? We've been worried sick. Have you? Is that why it took 11 days? Emma's voice in the background. Give me the phone. Mom, please, can I come see you? We're talking now. I want to apologize in person. How do you plan to make 15 years right, Jake? He had no answer. Emma grabbed the phone. Margaret, enough. You've made your point. We're sorry. Now come back. You think this is about making a point? You wanted attention. You got it. What more do you want? I want you to understand I'm not coming back. Don't be ridiculous. Where else will you go? I don't live with you anymore. Jake took the phone back. Mom, please, give me a chance to fix this. I need time. How much time? I don't know. The kids miss you. The kids have parents. We're trying, but we need help. There it was. They needed me, not wanted me. Needed me. Jake, when do I get to put my needs first? What do you need? I need respect. I need to matter. You do matter. When was the last time you asked about my day? When was the last time you saw me as a person? He couldn't answer. Emma grabbed the phone. Come back and we'll make changes, but you have to come back first. Why? Because this is childish. It's manipulative. Or is it the only way I could get you to notice I exist? Chapter 8. Chapter with a plot twist. The calls continued all day. By afternoon, they'd called 15 times. I answered on the 16th. What? Finally, Emma shouted. We can't do this without you. What will it take? I told you. Respect, appreciation, blah, blah, blah. Fine. But we need you now. Blah, blah, blah. She'd actually said that about my needs. I'm not coming back. Yes, you are. Or we'll make other arrangements you won't like. Is that a threat? You've been living rent-free for 15 years. While doing everything for free. We fed you, housed you. You had it pretty good. Fed me leftovers. Housed me in the smallest room. You had it easy, just cooking and cleaning. That was your choice. I hung up. Jake called back. Mum, please, can we compromise? What compromise? Come back part-time. No, you're negotiating a work schedule with your mother. I'm grateful. Grateful people don't forget their mother's birthday. Silence. You forgot. It's October 1st. I turned 60 last week. While you celebrated, without me, I turned 60 alone. No cake, no card. Mum, I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. Then what will? Time. Space. I hung up. Chapter 9. Days 14 through 18 brought more desperation. Emma texted, We hired a housekeeper. She cost $3,000 a month. Then, she quit after 2 days. Said I was too demanding. The kids are acting out at school. Emma's mother tried to help but lives too far away. Then day 19 brought silence. I should have known they were planning something. At 3:47 p.m., Emma called. Something made me answer. Margaret, we need to talk. We've been talking. No, I've been listening. You want respect. Message received. Then why are we talking? Because actions have consequences. You abandoned your grandchildren. You're being selfish. Wanting basic decency is selfish. You're having a breakdown. You're 60 with no life, lashing out. I'm not discussing this. Here's what's happening. Come back or lose your son forever. What? Jake is done. He feels betrayed. I convinced him it's not worth it. Come back by tomorrow morning or lose Jake forever. She hung up. I sat there shaking. Irma found me crying. She's manipulating you. That's what bullies do. What if Jake really cuts me off? Then he was never really your son. If he sides with Emma, he's made his choice. She was right. By morning, I'd decided. I wasn't going back. At 8 a.m., Jake's number called. I let it ring. They called 23 times by noon. The text started. Emma, your time is up. Emma, you're making a huge mistake. Emma, fine. Don't expect to hear from us again. Jake, Mum, please. Jake, I don't understand. Jake, answer the phone. I turned off my phone and gave it to Irma. At 5 p.m., she gave it back. 73 missed calls, 112 texts. Most were angry, but Jake's last few were desperate. Mum, please. Emma's saying terrible things. I don't know what to believe. The kids are crying every night. I'm sorry for everything. I'm sorry I took you for granted. I'm sorry I forgot your birthday. Please just tell me you're safe. My heart ached, but was sorry enough. Chapter 10, chapter with a plot twist. The phone rang. Emma's number. I looked at Irma. She nodded. I answered. What? Finally, I've been calling all day. Do you know what you've put us through? I know exactly. 1 day of struggling. Jake is a mess. The kids are traumatized. I'm at my wit's end. And you ignore us. Yes, like you ignored me for 15 years. That's all you have to say? What do you want me to say? I want you to say you're coming back. I don't belong there. Yes, you do. You're part of this family. No, I had a job. I quit. You can't quit being a mother. I'm not quitting being a mother. I'm quitting being your unpaid housekeeper. She took a sharp breath. Look, be reasonable. You want changes? We'll make changes. Come back and we'll discuss it. No. You're 60 with no job, no savings. I have $3,000. It'll last. That won't last forever. Long enough. You're being selfish. Yes, for the first time in 30 years. It feels amazing. What about Jake? He's 40, he'll figure it out. He needs his mother. He needs a housekeeper. You're abandoning your grandchildren. I'm tired of being invisible. I deserve better. We gave you everything. You gave me a room and leftovers. That's nothing. I heard movement. Emma talking to Jake. Then she was back, voice sharp. Fine, fine. Come back and at least cook for us. Help us get stabilized. Come back for 2 weeks. Help us find a housekeeper. Train them. Then you can leave. Is that too much to ask? There it was. The manipulation. Come back and cook. Come back and fix their mess. Come back and train my replacement. Everything in me wanted to scream. But I didn't. I spoke quietly, calmly, with the same cold detachment she'd used 20 days ago. Remember the leftovers in the fridge, I said slowly. Eat them if you want. Silence. What did you just say? Remember the leftovers in the fridge. Eat them if you want. I hung up. I blocked their numbers. I turned off my phone, and I sat there, feeling lighter than I had in 15 years. It was done. I was free. I'd given them back their own cold words. I'd shown them what it felt like to be dismissed, to be told your needs didn't matter. And it felt good. It felt right.